How's the water?
Cold, sir.
Harry, you're one of the finest pilots we have. You go in low and you do the job.
From you, sir, I appreciate that.
And why don't you stay in the Navy? Great future here for you.
You know what I think of the Navy, sir.
Still better?
Still, I was unattached. The organized units were drawing pay. They were left home. I was called. Sometimes I'm so bitter I could mess up the works on purpose.
Why don't you?
You know why, sir. The catapult fires. Then there's that terrific moment, and you're out front, on your way to Korea. So you say, what the heck? I'm here. Might as well do the job.
Exactly. The president once rebuked me publicly. I'd had that big fight with the battleship boys about aviation. They didn't think it was important enough. Then the brawl with the Air Force, who thought it was too important. I know I'll never get promoted again, but you're here, and you do the job.
It would be easier to take if people back home were helping, but in Denver, nobody even knows there's a war. Except my wife. Nobody supports this war.
Every war's the wrong one. Could anything have been stupider than choosing Guadalcanal for a battleground? And look at us today. Imagine the United States Navy tied down to a few square miles of ocean. The Marines are worse, dug into permanent trenches, and the poor Air Force is the most misused of all. Bombers flying close air support. Militarily, this war is a tragedy.
Then why don't we pull out?
That's rubbish, son, and you know it. All through history, free men have had to fight the wrong war in the wrong place. But that's the one they're stuck with. That's why, one of these days, we'll knock out those bridges at Toko.
Do we have to knock out those particular bridges, sir?
Yes, we must. I believe without question that one morning a bunch of communist generals and commissars will be holding a meeting to discuss the future of the war. And a messenger will run in with the news that the Americans have knocked out even the bridges at Toko. And that little thing will convince the Reds that we'll never stop, never give in, never weaken our purpose.
Who's this Mike Forney he thinks of before his own children?
If you were freezing to death in the sea and a man brought his helicopter right over your head and rescued you, wouldn't you help that man if he got into trouble?
Did Harry crash at sea?
Yes.
You know your husband's at war. You know he's brave, but somehow you can't believe that he'll fall into the sea.
Has Harry told you about the bridges at Toko?
No, he never talks about the war.
You must ask him about those bridges.
Is he involved with the bridges?
Yes. When we go back to sea, your husband must bomb those bridges.
Why are you telling me this?
In 1947, I had a daughter as sweet as you. She was my daughter-in-law, really. Then my son was killed at Midway trying to torpedo a Jap carrier. She never recovered. For a while, she tried to make love with every man in uniform, thought he might die one day. Then she grew to loathe herself and attempted suicide. Where she is now, I don't know. But once she was my daughter.
You think that, well, if things went wrong at the bridges, I'd be like...
Perhaps. If we refuse to acknowledge what we're involved in, terrible consequences sometimes follow.
Why'd you bring the copter in, Mike?
I took care of my men, sir.
How is it aboard the scow?
It's fair. The carrier duty spoils you.
I liked this Ava.
How long are told we'll be able to stay?
Not long.
We got nothing to worry about. The jets will be back.
This morning I had a chance to watch the jets in action. They're terrific. You think there's any chance they'll allow us to surrender?
Those apes?
Why do you hate them so much?
Simple. One Sunday morning in the cathedral, I heard the cardinal explain it all. You understand, sir. I came here to save you. I don't want to die. There's a fighting chance or I wouldn't have come. But now we're here, let's really go down swinging. Don't fire too soon at these apes.
Why do you wear that?
I want people to know I'm around.
That's what you told the captain. But what's the real dope?
When I was a little kid, we lived... Tell me the truth, sir. Wasn't that half a pathetic ape?
The way you used to windmill all the time?
In about 3 minutes now. I'm gonna keep my eye on those 4 over there. Forget them! They're crumpling! That'll take her voice. Bring on the men.
The girls should be in the garden now. Jet plane crash. 2 Americans killed by communist troops.
How do you explain to a wife that her husband has died for his nation?